I've got myself this laptop. I want to take it away on a trip shortly. It has Windows 11 on it, and we're going to put Linux on it because why not? So yes, this is a very scratched up already because it has very soft plastic on the front, and I put it upside down. Do not put it upside down unless you've got some sort of cloth there or something. Scratches really easy. This is a Lenovo, some sort of Ideapad. It was the cheapest laptop I could find that I thought had a bit of a chance of running Guild Wars 2, at least okay levels, and would be easy, nice easy one for Linux. So it's got it's a fairly old technology one. It's a Zen 2. It's got the 5700U low powered chip in it. So it's a nice low power. I wanted something low power for the trip. Light, super light. Something that had a replaceable drive if possible. And this one has half the memory soldered in and half is replaceable. So yeah, that's not too bad. And has a replaceable drive. Now normally we would just make ourselves a little bootable flash drive and boot up Linux on it. But on this one, we're going to go all the way. I'm going to replace the drive as well. So we can have a replacement drive thing as well. And this one was about 800. I think there was it was 700 or 800, which would be about 400 or 500 US. There is a cheaper model that has a 5500U, which probably would do it pretty good too, which was very cheap in America. I think they're only about 300 and something in America. With the 5500U, both with Vega 7, Vega 8 graphics, whatever, which probably would do the job, but they were out of stock of those ones, so I got the slightly dearer one. I just wanted cheap, nasty, because I'm on a super low budget here as far as YouTube goes. Zero budget mostly, so I do want to spend a lot of money because I'm going to use this on one trip and probably won't use it again because I normally would use something like a Surface Pro anyway. But I wanted something that would run Guild Wars plus makes a YouTube video, so let's do it. So we are going to install Linux on this laptop, and first we have to pick a distribution, and we'll need a flash drive, something that's over 8 gig. I buy these cheap ones by the dozen, and because it's always giving away or throwing away or losing them. So first thing, we have to pick a distro. I really only recommend 3 distros. I sort of did some experimenting as well. I have a list of things I want to install. Most Linuxes will do it. There's too many distros, it gets confusing. Not that there's too many, but there's too many for new people. So I make a list of things I want to install: Chrome, Steam, editing softwares, a lot of usual things. A lot of them are included in the distro, so they're no problem, but a lot of things like Discord or extra things, Chrome and Steam, are not necessarily included, obviously, because they're proprietary software. My recommendations are generally Linux Mint is a good one for new people, although it did fail my test on the installing Chrome, and the last time I tried, it did make me download the deb. No, I did it on the GUI though. Still, download the deb and right-click that and load that with the package manager. Whereas it didn't come up just in the ordinary package management system, which I thought was odd. It seems like they've sort of cleaned it out of Flathub or whatever. The other one I always use is Fedora, but I don't like GNOME, so I use Fedora KDE because I've been using Fedora and KDE for a very long time. I started with Red Hat. Well, I started with Slackware technically, but Red Hat was one of the first ones I used, and I used KDE pretty much when it started too. So it's familiar territory. And my opinion is, if rather than switch distros all the time, most distros can do what you want. Pick a distro, get used to the way it works, get something you like underneath, then make it look and work and feel the way you want. That's probably the easiest, which why I just use Fedora and make it do what I want. The other one I recommend, and I really think is overlooked a lot of times, and that's Debian. Debian has a really nice install. It also has live CDs like this Fedora one if you want it, but it has a nice install CD that you can put on. It requires a net, but that's okay. You put it on, you can select your desktop, you can select GNOME or KDE or whatever you want, and downloads all the up-to-date patches straight away, and so it's another good one. And we're going to do a Debian install on my Office PC shortly, because I think it's a good one, and I think it gets overlooked a lot. But that's my three main ones. Mint because it's easy, Fedora for doing the work, and Debian because it's a traditional Linux install, and it's a little bit older, but it's stable, and it's a good choice. We have our blank or disposable flash drive we're going to use. That's going to be over 8 gig, I believe. I don't know what this one is. This is something 16. It's twice as big as it needs to be, but it's getting hard to get small ones anyway. We're going to plug that into our lappy, and we're going to capture that. Apparently that one already has Fedora on it, but that's okay. We'll just wipe over that. So what we want to do, I'm as I say, I got the three main ones I prefer, and I'm going to go with Fedora. I think it's a good one, and that's what I want on my machine. Obviously, I think it's a good a workhorse, and I do all my editing, all my YouTube stuff is all done on Fedora. Possibly not Fedora 41. I think I've got Fedora 40 or 39 still on my editing machine. So what we're going to do first is I just want Fedora KDE, so I'll just do a search. It'll probably take me for Fedora Spins or something. Is that Fedora Spins? That looks like a download. We're going to download the ISO. Essentially, it's an install disk image which will have all our files on it. And in this case, this is a bootable version, so we're going to have to load something to make it bootable. So while that's downloading, we'll go to another site and we're going to look up Rufus, which is what I use. There are others. So Rufus, we're going to download Rufus while we're at it. If we can find a download for Rufus. There's a lot of fake downloads on all these things. Where's the actual download? Okay, standard install Rufus 4.6. We're just going to go with standard. Get a little ad. We're going to have an ad. Close the ad and see what happens. So we've got our downloads going. So then we just wait for the downloads to go, which shouldn't take too long. Rufus is already downloaded. And Fedora KDE shouldn't be too long. 2.6 gigs apparently. I think the Debian one is actually a smaller download because it downloads while you're installing, unless you get the live version. And pretty sure Linux Mint's a fair size download too, has a lot of packages in it. Once our files are downloaded, we should be able to go downloads. They should be in there. There's a bunch of other stuff I've downloaded recently. And we should be able to do Rufus. Do you want Rufus to check? Yeah, why not? Okay. Now Rufus generally is pretty simple. We're going to just we have a device. Obviously, this is still already a Fedora live CD we made before, but we just go grab our image, select an image. So it'll be a disk or ISO image, and we go to our select, and there's only one there to pick from, and we just open that. Now we're going to the file system there, yes, MBR or GPT. I'm going to leave MBR on this so I can use it on multiple different machines, whether they're old and new, and I think I should be able to boot anyway, but we'll find out soon enough. So we're just going to go with MBR, which should work on either, and then it's just a matter of hitting start. I think we've got everything right. You'll notice that it's like you've got the device. It's usually pretty good about that. It really only gives you your USB, so you're not going to be wiping over a disk or anything, so it's pretty clever on that one, even if you've got a bunch of disks. So we hit start, and right in ISO mode, it's recommending that, so I'm going to go with it. Gives me some little error. Wants to download something else. Okay, we'll do that. Then we're going to wipe the drive. So yeah, it did want to download something else that would help, supposedly. I'm just going to click yes, and hope for the best. And then it's just a matter of copying that across. That won't take long, and everything on that drive that was there, which was a Fedora install, will be wiped. And And once that's done, well, you're done. So that should be a bootable drive right now. So we can close that. So once you've done that, you can pull your drive out and you have a bootable drive. So it's then a matter of installing Linux, but you're going to have to make sure your machine can boot to a USB, and that may involve a BIOS modification, and that's going to depend on the machine. We'll have a look at this one, how it's done shortly, but you may have to look up how your particular machine is done. But let's have a look, because this has the most useless, simplest to use, but most useless BIOS I think I've ever seen. But we'll have a look and see what it says. But before we go on to trying to work out the BIOS and get a bootable USB, we are going to, on this machine, as an optional step, going to swap the drive. We're going to pull out this 1 terabyte that's in here, that's got Windows on it, and we're going to put in another brand new drive. So that will be fun. Now that will be a slightly different install. A clean drive is the easy way to go. But you've got a nice clean drive in there, you just do a default install and it's super easy. But not everyone's going to have a clean drive. You might have old Windows on there or something, and we're going to try and cover that with a bit of fancy editing and reshoots, and try and cover both options in this case. But best way is, the easiest way is to just have a nice clean drive, and we're going to do that on this PC because I have one laying around. And but it can be done either way, especially if you're not worried about what's on the drive. If you're not worried about what's on the drive, we can easily wipe it and put Linux over the top of it. So if it's got an old Windows 7 install or something. So we'll try and do both, but this one's going to have its drive swapped. Let's see how we go. We've got 9 screws. Just watch the lengths, because a lot of these laptops have different length screws in different areas. Okay, so these front screws are a bit shorter. They go into metal straight away. These are usually not too bad. It's just usually just a matter of probing around these edges because they're clipped in, trying to start it and show what I'm doing. But you know, this is not a laptop pull apart video. This just happens to be something we're doing at the same time. I'm only doing this because I want to keep the drive intact in case I want to replace it back. Normally you would just probably use the drive that's on board already and just install over your Windows, but in this case we want to put a different drive in. Okay, so we'll open that up, and we have, this has half the memory is soldered on to this one apparently. Has one chip you can replace. It's it'd be an 8 gig module in there, and it has a is that a 2242 length drive in there, smaller drive in there. Now we could just install with that in there, but I want to swap it. So there's a little extra bit on here that's an unnecessary stop on the video. We'll just unplug the power too, just to be on the safe side. This is an unnecessary step on the video for most people, but on this case I just don't want to use that drive. I've got another drive. I have never tried this brand before. Went to the computer shop and they had these Clev brand drives. It's a 1 terabyte. It's just the doesn't have any DRAM on it, just a cheap drive. And we will try it for this. Never tried this one before. it's got like a Realtek controller on it and someone told me it was Hynix brand, but it's got their brand on it. And it's even got a little heatsink on it. If you don't have a heatsink on your case, we won't worry about that right now because I don't know if the heatsink will fit in here, so we won't do that. We'll pull that one out and pull that one out of there. Oh. Drop our new... now, we only got a short bit of stuff here, so we'll just move that a bit just so it... can't see with my hand there. I'm just going to move that sort of to the middle a bit. Put that in the middle a bit so we it just keeps it away from the board. It shouldn't touch it, and it's supposed to be a heatsink. If you could find a longer strip it would be better, but it'll be alright for this case. I'll have a look around sometime and see if I can find a bit of a longer strip, maybe order a bit and put under there. And that's it. We have the drive done. Oh, we can put our power back on, might be a good idea. And we can close it up. Okay, so we've got that back together there. We can clip that all together again. Pop our screws back in with our little drill as soon as I find them. We have swapped our drive. We've pulled the machine apart, put it back together, and it still powers up amazing, but it's got no drive in at the moment. Or you may have a machine that still has Windows in it, and it will boot. And now we're going to stick our drive back in, and we've got to boot, but we've got to boot into the USB drive, and that's going to be a matter of getting into the BIOS, and that's going to be dependent on your machine. I'm going to put up a little photo right now that shows the boot menu on the BIOS on this PC, which is one of the nice, easy to use, but as you can see, if you look at it, it has very few options. It's got like enable boot from USB, and then you've got a boot order list that you can bring up, and you click that little boot order list and you can just put USB at the top. Just to get into the BIOS is different on different machines. If you put a blank drive in, it will go to the BIOS because it won't be able to find a drive and say, oh, I can't find anything to boot. So and it might automatically go to the USB because it can't find anything to boot, or it might just give up and say, please go into the BIOS setup and make you select a boot order. But if you've got Windows in there, obviously still it's just going to boot Windows. So you're going to have to get into your BIOS. That's going to be a matter of, on this machine it's F2, some machines it's F12 or delete or whatever. You're going to have to look that up. And then you're going to have to get into your BIOS, which can be super variable. Find some sort of boot order thing and make it so you can boot from your USB. Some machines like have a F12 or F11 or something like that, where if you press them when you're booting up, it will bring up a little boot order and say, oh, what do you want to boot from? So it'll have, like, instead of having to go right in the BIOS, you can just look it up and it'll just give you a list of what things you can boot, and you can put the USB drive there. You're going to have to look up your machine. They're all different. As I say, I can put up a photo of what this laptop's like. And for those people who are saying, oh, I've got a Lenovo laptop, and I'll be able to follow along, but if you've got something else, it's going to be different, obviously. So beware of that, because they're all different, and that's life. So, assuming we've got our drive, our USB drive written with Rufus, and our, in this case, Fedora 41, or you might want something else, Linux Mint or whatever, we should have a boot. It will take a little while to boot. It'll probably go through a little menu. Sometimes you come up with a little grub menu. You may have to just make sure you flick up to the top. It might want to have a it might have some options in your grub that say something like test media or something like that. You just click to the default, the little option at the top, usually has a star, or it might even be the top option already. It may be ready to go. So assuming you've done that, you've booted up your Linux, and you should have this screen. So we have this screen in front of us. Essentially, you now have a live distro, and this is with usually some instructions on Fedora here. It tells you, click the little icon to install. So we don't need that up. It will give you a bunch of hints of what things you can do if you flick through it all. And if you're new to Linux, you're probably going to need all this stuff of how to do stuff, because it is all different. So but our main objective here is to install, but this does give you an opportunity to, you can check where everything works. We'll get on here and connect up to our Wi-Fi and make sure the Wi-Fi is working, because different hardware is not necessarily going to work. Not everything is going to work perfectly. Most things will generally, and I haven't had a lot of trouble lately. But it pays to, especially if you've got something you don't know about. I went to a lot of trouble trying to find something that I thought would work. But this is a good opportunity to just go through on the live distro, especially before you wipe your operating system, Windows or whatever. This is a good opportunity to go through. I'll just put my super secure password in. I've got to stick my tongue out for that, because that helps me think. Hope that's the right password. Okay, so we seem to have Wi-Fi. We've only got Firefox on here. Everything's going to be very slow too. We're on a USB, and this is a slow USB, so it's going to be extra slow. So we do seem to be on the internets. Oh, we've got Google. Sometimes that's Google, sometimes it'll be some other search engine. Okay, so we have got internet. It's a good opportunity now to check Bluetooth. Does Bluetooth work? All that sort of thing. Yeah, Bluetooth's working. Our speaker seems to be working. I had a sound before there. This is a good opportunity to test all of those sorts of things. What hardware you can't test everything. I did a little bit of testing a little bit before, and I know, and I did some reading as well because I saw a problem. There is a bit of a bug at the moment with something with the latest kernels, and they suggest using an earlier version. On this particular version anyway, sleep doesn't work properly. It won't come back from sleep, and that's not going to worry me. I'll just disable sleep on all the things, so when I close the lid or whatever, it just stays on, and I'll just have it set to either stay on or switch off, because sleep's not something I'm worried about on this machine anyway. With an SSD, it boots up so fast anyway. I'm just, for what I'm going to be doing with this, it doesn't matter. But that pays to know, so that you can say, oh well, that's no good. I need my computer to sleep, so I'm not going to install Linux on this one. For me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to install Linux anyway, because I don't care about sleep, and it's something that I'll probably get fixed shortly anyway. It's just apparently something after about 6.7 kernel or something. So I read, but there's a lot of different things that. Yeah. Anyway, so it is pretty simple from here on in. Really, it's just a matter of, let's install it. On this install, I'm going to try and keep everything GUI and simple. When I do a little install, I'll be often doing a lot of command line stuff, but on this one, I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible. And we're just going to click on the install to hard drive, and this will take a while, especially with a slow old thing we've got, but we'll do our best. Okay, what language would you prefer? Something I can understand, which English Australian, yes thank you, because I don't want to have to learn American for this. Okay, and we've got English Australia keyboard, so that was good to know it was English Australia. We've got my time zone, which is Brisbane, which I'm not in Brisbane, but the whole state has the same time zone. And we've got to complete some things. Now, you can put a root account, and if you install something like Debian, I think Debian still defaults to having a root account. Fedora sort of doesn't. You can just create a user and and use sudo or sudo, whichever way you pronounce it, and use the sudo command to do everything. You don't have to go into super user. So all we got to do is fill in some details. This will be our main password for logging in. I'm going to use a different one this time. I put in my super secure password last time and it was a pain, so I'm going to put in a slightly lower class of password on this one, I think. So you're just going to put in your name, and that will be something like, I'll put in Amos the guy, and then I'm going to want to have a login name that goes on there, and then we're going to put in our password and just pick something that you're going to remember, obviously, as usual. So after you do that, you'll see that root account has been disabled. I guess you have to do the root account first if you want to have a root account. I never do. I just don't bother with Fedora. Then we're up to installation on the disk, which is probably the biggest problem of the install. I'm redoing this because after doing it I thought, well, not everyone's going to have a clean disk, and even though I was installing this on my own machine and decided to film it just to show people installing Linux, I decided, well, I'll go back and show what it's like if there is an operating system on the disk as well, rather than a clean drive. We'll try and cover both and try and keep it as simple as possible. And to keep it as simple as possible, generally the best thing you can do if you're just new to Linux is just put everything on the one partition, essentially one big C drive, only it's not called C drive in Linux, it's just the root directory. And we're just going to make the whole disk one directory and put everything in there, and generally that is the easiest way of being automatic. Now some people are going to want to have a root and a home partition. We'll have a quick look at that. Imagine that's like having a C and a D partition. So you've got maybe half the drive is C and then half the drive is D, and you put your data in D. Only in Linux that might be called your home partition, where all your personal files are, and your root partition where everything else is. Generally, if you're doing that, you're going to have to decide how much space to do either one. But if you're using something like the Fedora default, which is BTRFS, ButterFS, or BetterFS, or BTreeFS, whatever you want to call it, it will sort of, to simplify it as much as possible, it will try and sort out the space for you, so you don't have to worry about the sizes so much. They essentially both as big as the drive in imaginary terms, but it will just make it all fit. But we're not going to have to worry about that. What we're going to try and do for a start is just put it all in one drive. Okay, so we're going to just click on our installation, and the super simple way will be just the automatic. So we're just going to click on done. Now if that's an empty disk, that's just going to take you straight back to the menu, and everything will be fine, and you can just go on with your install. You're done, and it's fine. Now if there is something on the disk, you're going to get this little installation option page that's going to come up and say, oh, you need to reclaim space. You're going to have to click on that, and then you're going to show you what was in there before. Obviously this is just Fedora that I've just installed, but it might be Windows, could be anything else. Hopefully something you don't care about. It's an old Windows 7 install or something on this old laptop you're trying to install on, whatever. It might be something else, but you can just hit the delete all your partitions, and then that will take you back essentially to the same place you were, where it's just going to wipe the drive, it'll delete everything, and you can start installing just the same as if it was a blank drive. Hopefully, and this is the easiest way. If you're just doing this and you're new to it, that's the easy way. Either blank drive and just go in automatic partition, put everything in one big C drive, root drive, and in this case, delete whatever's on there if it's a drive that has things on it, and it all goes in one big drive. Anything else is going to be a little bit more complicated. I'll have a quick look at those, but this is the easy way. Me personally now, I'm going to hit custom, and when I hit custom and go done, if it's on an empty drive, as we're seeing here on the screen, I can just click here to create the automatic partitions, and it will create a home and a root and a home directory, essentially a C and a D drive where I can divide up my programs and my data separately. That way, if I reinstall, I don't have to reinstall everything. I don't have to wipe all my data. I can essentially work around that. That's more of a specialized situation. It's not for everyone, but it's just an option. And if you've got a blank drive, you might as well do it that way. They've made it nice and easy. You can just click there, create them automatically. It's not an extra hassle for you. And once you've created them, you can just go on with your install. Now, on the other hand, if you have got an operating system on that drive, you're going to come up with this screen. You're going to have these partitions here. You can click on there. You can see there's already partitions on there. That leaves you with the option. Then you can have to go through and manually delete those. It's got the little plus and minus here. I haven't done this because it's not something I normally do, but theoretically you can delete those partitions. It may then allow you to create the new ones automatically, or it may make you manually put them in, which means you'll have to put in your root directory you want and the things you want in there manually. You'll have to have a bit of an idea what you're doing, but it may let you create automatically. I need to find an old drive that I can risk, but I'm not going to risk this one because I spent all these hours putting it on and I still have some work to do on it. But there are options there if you want the two partitions on the drive, and with, like I say, with Btrfs, it will sort all the sizing out for you, so you don't have to worry about the sizes so much. But obviously the easy choice is going to be just hitting automatic, and then either with a blank drive it's just going to go ahead and do it, or you're going to reclaim the space, delete everything, and go on with your install. And hopefully that keeps it as simple as possible for the first time. Obviously this is a whole complicated thing all on its own, but we just want to do it simple as we can this time, and then it's just a matter of beginning the installation. And then there'll be a lot of waiting and having coffees. I know I don't have a coffee. I had my Buc-ee's cup from when I was in Texas and Louisiana earlier in the year, but it has Coke in it. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to get Dr. Pepper over here. I do like Dr. Pepper. I'm one of those people, but very, very difficult to get over here in Australia. So now we're just going to wait a lot. Once that's complete, we can click the finish installation button, that part was pretty simple. Once you've closed that, you're back in the live desktop again. You can then shut that down and remove the media and boot it up and see how it goes, and we'll continue with the process. Okay, so after rebooting, it'll come up with a finalizing the installation process. It'll flashes past pretty quick, some text might go flying by, and then we should get into our login, and then if we remember our password, we should theoretically actually be able to log into our new Linux desktop. And I've got some extra features here because I had to, I've got the two screens going, so I had a bit of a thing coming up there. So, and then we go back in and you've still got all your welcome to Fedora stuff to read through, which will be very handy for you, I'm sure. And because we've already put our Wi-Fi password in, that's already done. Our Bluetooth's already working, all that's working. And we will have a lot of applications already in, even a couple of games there. It doesn't have GIMP. I want to install GIMP. There's quite a few things I do want to install. Most of your things that you want to install that are part of the distribution will be in your normal Discover, which will have all your applications if if you want to install other games. Or what I want to get, say if I want to do graphics, say, and we want GIMP, we definitely want GIMP. We can click on GIMP and have a look. as an example, we can then just install that. Most applications are able to do that, and it makes it so much easier than having to go to websites all the time. You will still have to do that occasionally with some applications, maybe, but we're going to try and do some with Flatpak today. But generally with Linux, most of the stuff will be readily available at just a click of a download, which it actually makes it a lot better to install a lot of things. It's sort of what Windows is trying to do with its own little shop now, and which is getting a lot better too. So, but you can't get everything there, obviously, but it's getting better. So I'm going to download that, which I think is already done, and we're going to see if that actually worked. Sometimes these things don't go straight away, but that one did. With this one, because it's a live CD, it's not always up to date, so one of the things you're going to want to do is hit your updates, and we're going to do a system update is one of the first things we're going to do. That's going to take a while. I would normally do this on the command line, but we're going to do this the proper way, or at least the normal user way. So that's probably one of the first things you're going to do, and after that I want to set up Flatpak. Generally that's the easy way to do it. There is RPM Fusion available with Fedora that you can get a lot of extra packages, but for uniformity across the thing, if you install your base package and then you install Flatpak or Snap if you prefer Snaps, but Flatpak is a good way to get those additional packages, especially things that proprietary, like Steam or Chrome or things like that, or Discord or whatever. It's a good way to get those additional packages, because and all the libraries, everything goes in together. They're all sort of nicely packaged together. It makes them a bit bigger, unfortunately, but it's a simple way, and these days drives are big, so it's not a big deal, and generally only a few of the packages here and there that you're going to do it with. And so we're going to do a system upgrade first, update all, and get that out of the way, because then we'll be all up to date and we'll know, and that'll put a new kernel in everything, so whatever the latest kernel is, and that way we're all up to date, and then we can install packages. We'll install Flatpak after that, and the main packages I want to install, and we should have a working system then. So when that's done, we're going to just reboot the system, and then we've got pretty well up-to-date system, and we can ready to play around with it. So we're just going to click restart and install all the system updates. Install the updates. That's all pretty straightforward, and that will reboot into our nicely freshly updated Linux system. And essentially we've got a Linux installed, and now it's just a matter of customizing it how we want, and that'll be a fair bit on for me, because I want to turn off sleep and things like that. It's now, that won't capture, we'll capture. You'll have a little capture screen there. If I can capture it, it will come up a little bit like Windows. If you're doing it from the command line, you won't get this as much, but with this, it does this pretty little updating the system thing, and gives you a little update thing, and hopefully it's recording. I think it is. So you can tell that you're actually doing some updates, which is really cool. Do not turn off your computer. These initial updates is the same as Windows, is when you first install and you're doing all the updates. One of the beauties about using the net install with Debian is you don't have to do the updates afterwards. It's a little bit slower to install, but it's all updated for you when you're finished. And after our reboot, and it'll reboot again, and we should be able to log back in again to our nice fresh and updated install of Fedora 41 Linux. One of the main things I want to do, and I think is the best thing to do at this stage, is go into your settings here, Apparently there's one more update. It can wait. I'm sure it's not important. We can have a quick look at what is that? Some UEFI thing. Go down to settings and we want to add Flathub. We're going to need a password for that. You're going to need a password for a lot of things in Linux. And that will give us the Flathub, which is another repository. Applications. Now I want to check for Steam. And now we have Steam from Flatpak. We're going to install Steam from there, even though it will probably give us some sort of errors and carry on, but it will probably work. So that's going to take a while. Sometimes Steam can be a bit funny installing just after you've finished installing Linux on your computer. I find if I have any trouble, I just reboot and it'll either appear, yes, it'll either appear in our menu or just go back and have another go installing it. You should have to put in a password, but sometimes if you just had a password in for something else, it will not need a or Flathubs sometimes do and sometimes don't. It depends on how you're doing it. If it doesn't show up, you can try reinstalling it. Steam just seems to be glitchier than most, but it says it's installed now, and it is in the menu. And once you get that actually in the Flatpak, and if we go to the games here, and what we'll do is we'll actually add it to our favorites. There's a few things I want to add to favorites. That's in favorites, that's in favorites. We want GIMP in favorites. And we can also add them down the bottom here. Once we get it up in there, we got it in our favorites, we can then click Steam. And hopefully Steam will run, and it's doing its thing. Steam is really good about just doing its thing, and I just let it go. Now it's going to do its own little update and sort itself out, and then later on I'm going to install Guild Wars 2 on here. That's going to take forever. I'm going to go away for a while and do that, and I may quickly test it on here because I want to see how it goes on here, on Linux and on this little lappy. But that's going to take a while. First we want to just get the machine going. Some of the things I also want to do while Steam is installing, I have to do a lot of, this is your system settings here, right next to your thingo. There'll be lots of things in there you might want to change. I'm going to do a bunch of stuff with power and stuff. Power management, because I know it has got a sleep bug on this one. So I'm going to get rid of a lot of the sleeps. If it's on power, I don't want it to go sleep anyway. I find that really annoying, especially when I'm trying to download, because of what I do, especially with installing a lot of things and doing a lot of things for content creation and that. I don't want it to. I don't want it to do anything when I close the screen. It'll turn the screen off. I think this turns the screen off automatically anyway. I don't want it to go to sleep or anything, obviously. So that's good. Just stay on. If I'm plugged in, just stay on. I'll switch it off when I want to. I'll let the screen go to sleep. That's fine. Now, if it's on battery's a bit more complicated. I'm going to make that after 15 minutes. It just shuts down. Yeah, we'll do nothing when the lid's closed. 2 minutes dim automatically, whatever. So that's okay. Low battery, yeah, we can do a. Okay, Steam is still configuring the background. As you can see, we are doing Steam in the background while we're doing this. When the lid's closed, do nothing. And we have got our Steam up. Steam is going there. We're going to have a look at that in a second. We'll just finish this. But this is, for me, this is not what you're going to want to do, but there's things you can do there, obviously. And when active, yeah, just shut down. So if it's low on battery, just shut down. But that looks alright. I just don't want it going to sleep because I know that sleep is broken on this. Something to do with the AMD and this kernel and this particular chip and laptop series. They're supposed to be most BIOSes allow you to change some of the sleep states. Unfortunately, this BIOS on this particular cheap laptop just doesn't give you the option. So we have Steam installed, and we've got to find our little thing. And I don't know what we're going to do. We have our Steam installed, and we're going to find our Steam card wherever that is, and we should be able to log on to Steam again. I've been doing a lot of logging into Steam. When I'm testing machines, you end up with a lot of... Steam must wonder, what the hell is that guy doing? I don't know. Anyway, suppose that's logged, and it's logged in. So Steam is easy. We have Steam. Voila! Or Viawala, as Alex on Expanse should say. And we have Steam going. Oh, I notice when it loads up, it's been loading up. If I go to display properties, let's just check our display configuration. Everything looks a bit big, and I know that's to make it easy to read, but I'm finding that sometimes that just scales things right off the side of the screen. And I have a big screen as well as my laptop screen here, so that's okay. For now, I'm going to apply that like that. And does that look better? I see. I've scaled the other one as well. There we go. Keep. So yeah, I'll just scale that to 100% because yeah, it does make everything look small on my screen, but it'll look fine out there for you guys. So so we got our screen scaling. Now, what else do we want? We want Chrome. I use Chrome all the time, unfortunately, so I'm stuck with using Chrome. Hopefully, Chrome is now available. If we do a search, it should be a Flatpak for it. And we've got Google Chrome, which we also can get from Flatpak. So does that install? Yep, that's going to install for us. Okay, and then we should have our Google Chrome. We can add that to our favorites. And I might actually add that to my taskbar. Yes, so once you got Chrome installed, you can then, I guess you can sync it up with how your Chrome's supposed to look. So I'm gonna sign in with whatever my sign in is. What is my sign in? Me from here. And then I need a password? Oh no, I need a password as well. Oh gosh. My Google password has about 50 characters. Is that right? Oh, bloody hell. And then I've got to check my phone as well. Yes, that's me. Of course it's me. Who the hell do you think it was going to be? It's always checking in on me. Okay, so we are in... yeah, why not? Oh, and that dark mode's me. Okay, so we're in a sort of a dark mode. That must be my default, I guess. And we have Google going. So that's one of the main things we want. We've got to have our Google going. So we got Google. So we got Google. We can put Facebook and all that sort of stuff on there. Now with Linux, one of the things that is very difficult, and one of the things I do like to use occasionally, and that is Microsoft Office. That's a pain in the bum. There are probably ways of doing it, but the easiest way is to just have your 365 subscription and use the online, the browser version, and you can get by that way. Because mostly I'm at home and I've got access to a Windows machine if I need to, if I do it that way. But you know, if I'm out and about and I've got a Linux laptop, or if I'm on a Linux machine, I can just use the browser. So we don't have to worry about that one. And if you just want a local word processor that just does your basic stuff, you do have your Libra stuff, which is sort of Star Office, the free version, and it works quite well. What do we got here? You're using, that's good. If I was new, I'd do that. For doing your basic stuff, how do we do? View, zoom, page width, that'll do. So you can do your basic word processing on that, and that works quite well. So you do have an included, I've got too many cursors going here. included word processor if you really need it, and a version of Excel and all that sort of thing. So there are plenty of apps there. Another thing I like to install is my video editor, which is Kden Live. You can install, you can do video editing. Discord is another thing. There are plenty of things you can install. Kden Live is part. Oh, where does that come from? Yeah, that just comes straight from Fedora. I used to always get it from Flatpak for a while because the Fedora version was a little bit older and didn't do something that I wanted. Do we have Discord? You know, if you want Discord, you can get it on there. There you go. Discord comes in a Flatpak, so that's why I like to have the Flatpaks on there. If you want a little temperature controller, temperature. There should be this thing here. This is a good little thing to get. We'll get that one. It's a little temperature monitor that can go on there because I am interested to see how this goes. This was running really hot on Windows. Even just idling, it was running flat out because I have got it on performance mode because I wanted to game with it. But when I had it in Windows, I just noticed it was just, the fan was going flat out all the time, even just idling, and I'm not getting that now. It sounds cool as heck right now. Now that should give us, I don't know where that is, utilities? System, yeah, system. So we'll just, I'm going to add that to my favorites, and I'm going to add that to taskbar. Click that, and okay, yeah, well that's going to need some work. That's a bit long. We're going to configure that. Configure it. Okay, what do we got? Sensors, clock, CPU. We don't need, we'll just give us a composite one. We don't need every core. It's going to put every, like all 16 cores there. This is an 8-core, 16-thread machine, so yeah, we don't want all them. Which is one of the reasons I liked it. This is a 5700U, which is a very low power and doesn't have that great and I know it's only Zen 2, it doesn't have that great an APU, but I mean 8-core, you know, it's a, I mean, I know you get a lot of ARMs that way too, but this is a Ryzen, you know, Ryzen chip. And what else can we do? Clock, we got a clock, sensors, temperature. Oh yes, we want temperatures. Oh, put them all in there. Put all the temps in. We're going to give them names. That's the beauty about it. We can give it like little names. I love the way things are a bit more configurable here, and we don't have to go searching for these things. So we're going to call that one CPU. Oh no, that's not CPU. We're going to call that one maybe GPU. Might be better. GPU. I'm going to call that one CPU, and we're going to call that. I'm going to call that one Wi-Fi. Apparently that's the Wi-Fi card. Recognize the number. And that one there is our NVMe. So we got our temperatures there. It's running at 42. I was running at 60, 70 degrees idle in Windows. Sometimes it would go down to 50. And I'm thinking, whoa, I'm just going to sit back and let it idle. I'm not running anything. Okay, now I'm doing 42. It's still on the performance mode. So yeah, Linux is running cooler, at least when it's idle, which is a big plus. So what else do I want to change on that? But anyway, everything's very configurable. Is there something else we might want? There's some things we probably don't need on there, like mail. Where's mail? We don't need mail. Mail, no, I don't need mail check on there. We don't need a whole domain Fritz box on there. I don't know where it got that from. It probably stole that off my router. Off my router. General host name, short host name will do. Okay, so we got that up there. And oh yeah, another thing you definitely want on your bottom here is your console, because you're going to want to bring that up. I can go top and 1T, and I've got like a little barcode there of, oh, what are my CPUs going? So if I can flick across to that, and it gives me a little indication of how things are going. we can go through all those applications, but we have done fairly well. I think we have got our basic system going, and it's something we can play around with later. Adding features, I think we've got our main things. We don't really need Firefox. I'll leave it there for the moment. That's our file manager. Dolphin's our file manager. It's like your normal file manager. You can open up things in new tabs and have tabs there and whatnot. What other software might we want? There's plenty of software, but what I want to do is have a quickly look at Steam. Where is Steam? Add that to the pin to the taskbar because we'll probably use that a bit. Now, when you're installing Steam, I mean, that's a separate video, I dare say, and I've done a few on them. Once you've got Steam running, you can go to the store and buy stuff or whatever. But if you've got stuff in your library already, which I have, let's go find a nice simple game, something rubbish that I got that I use for testing. Let's have a look. Peggle Knights. There we go. Peggle Knights is a nice one. Now it's just going to want Stream because I've got another one on there, and it's not giving me, because we're on Linux, we don't get the option to install right there. I don't know, if I didn't have my computer on, my computer's not on. I don't know why that wants to stream. My computer is not even on. So what we can do is we go down to here and we go to Properties. That's our launch options. We want to go to Compatibility. So we have to force a Steam Play compatibility tool. Because this is not Windows, it's Linux, we have to run Proton, which is like a wine derivative. So once we close that and go here, we should get this computer, and now we should be able to install it, and that's going to install somewhere. That's our Steam library apparently. I dare say we can change that. This game could be transferred locally. To do that, enable local transfers. It's going to steal that off my wife apparently. Or going to try to anyway. Downloads. It's got some downloads. It's got some Proton downloads to download. I broke my camera little flap that covers my microphone for some reason. I will lose that now. Should I pull it off? Yeah, I'm going to pull it off because apparently my little thing flap fell off. Hopefully it will clip back in there. Okay, so Peggle Knights, is it down? Oh, we're still downloading the Linux runtime, and it's got to download the hotfix for Proton. This sort of stuff you won't have to download every time, but this is a first time thing, so that's not going to take too long. I'll sit for my Bucky's cup, which I dropped and bent. And now it doesn't want to sit flat. Dang. Okay, so it's doing the Proton hotfix now. Proton hotfix is the latest version of Proton, yeah. I'm not used to that. It's usually Proton Experimental or Proton whatever. Some programs, I had that problem with Guild Wars 2 on one machine, possibly the little Dell 9020. I did have to use an older version of, I don't know if it was the game or the machine or what. I think it was the machine combination with hardware. I did have to use, I think, Proton version 7. So sometimes you might have to downgrade or pick a version that fits. So sometimes it does take a bit of experimenting around, but normally I just use whatever the latest thing is, and the latest thing at the moment is Proton hotfix, and we're going to try that on Peggle Knights. I don't think Peggle Knights will have any difficulty. It was a nice small game to download. Even on this install, I noticed the temp, and it's very small print, I know, well, it wouldn't be small print for you, but it is small print, and it's super tiny print on my laptop, but it's saying, yeah. Oh, it did jump up to 70 there, but it was around the 40-50 degrees, so it's not doing too bad. But it did jump up to 70 degrees there, but that's fine. I don't mind jumping up when it's doing some work. And the CPU did spike a little bit there, so now we're Peggle Knights did not take long to install, so we should be able to go to our library, and we should be able to go to Peggle Knights, which is a stunningly good game. Do we have buttons? Do we have volume buttons? Yes, we do. I have a volume button. I can turn the volume down. I have got this set up so the function keys are normally, when the computer boots up, the function keys will be in use rather than the special function keys, so because I like having F1s and F2s, especially with Linux. Some of the buttons, like the volume and that, do work. That's always going to be touch and go when you're running Linux on a laptop. Obviously, not all the buttons are going to do exactly what they're supposed to, but this one's working pretty good so far. Click to play. I don't play this game. I use this purely for testing purposes. Continue. Continue. I'm not hearing any sound. I would have thought this had sound. Maybe I've just got it turned down too low. Oh yeah, it's got sound. Don't know if that's being recorded on the tape over there. If it is, I might have to wipe it or bring it down a bit. And then yeah, the game plays. Obviously, simple games like this are super easy to get running. So, Peggle works. Leave. Get me out of here. Quit. Quit. Yes. Doesn't like you to get out, does it? So yeah, no, I just wanted to run that just to check that was working. So that's good. Now, of course, I do want to download Guild Wars 2. I'm going to have to... It's not giving me anything. It's just giving me stream. It doesn't even tell me where it's going to stream it from. I'm going to have to go to Properties and Compatibility and Force again. I'm going to try a hotfix with this one again, but I may have to go down to another version. We'll have to see. This computer and install and accept, and that's going to take a very long time. So I'm just put that on the queue for now. But otherwise, we have Linux going, and wow, that's going to make it work now. It's making it work a bit. We've got, what is that? Oh, that's downloads. Yeah, I've got all these tiny little graphs on the screen, and I was trying to work out what they were. So essentially, we have Linux going. We haven't installed everything and done everything. I still need to install things like, because I want to use this when I'm away. I don't think I'll be doing any editing on it, but I might as well put something on, because you never know, I might take some film or something and decide, you know, I'll edit up a quick video. You never know. I'm only going to be away a few days, so I don't think I will, but I may just, you never know. I quite like Fedora because it is super quick and super easy. That first screen is the main thing. Getting your drive set up, which can be the trickiest part of it, putting in your passwords and getting your user set up. Otherwise, if you're just doing a basic install, I find a nice easy one to install. Look, Linux Mint's not hard either, and Debian's a little more to it, mostly because it does force you to make a super user account as well, and there's a few more prompts along the way, but it's not hugely more difficult. But they're the main ones. I have used Ubuntu in the past. I didn't like it much. I have tried Kubuntu because it had KDE, but I don't see the point when I can just use, you know, Fedora. Because I'm used to it, and really that's what it comes down to. It's what you're used to. It really doesn't matter what the underlying thing is, and you can switch back and forth. Oh, I want to try this because it's got this desktop, or that because that desktop. I like Fedora because I like the underlying thing, and I'm used to it. I'm familiar with the packaging systems and how it's set up and whatnot. But I just don't like the desktop, so I don't use their default desktop. I go and I run KDE, and it gives you that option. And the same with Debian. I don't know what the top is for it, but I use KDE on it as well, unless I've got a really light machine that I really need a light system, and I'll either have no GUI at all or run something like XFCE, whatever. Enlightenment used to be a one. I don't know if it still is. Linux Mint, you just use their Cinnamon. I know it has some other light desktops as well, but Cinnamon seems to be their favourite. I don't know much about Cinnamon, what it's based on. It looks good, it works good. It's different. So it has different packaging systems and whatnot. Of course, it uses the Ubuntu system as well. But Ubuntu, yeah. So Linux Mint is based on top of Ubuntu, but then Ubuntu is essentially on Debian, so I always feel that if I'm going to use that system, I might as well use Debian. I know Ubuntu has gone all to snaps and it has a lot of other changes, but if I'm going to go that way, I might as well use Linux Mint. I don't see the point in Ubuntu, if you know what I mean. I'll either use Debian or Linux Mint, and Ubuntu just seems like a pointless to use because it's sort of in between the two, and there are so many distributions for specific purposes, but really it doesn't make a lot of difference. And certainly when I've been just for everyday use, if you want to run a browser, do some editing, you want to run Discord, you want to run some games, they all will do it. And certainly once you get Steam on, using Steam on them, and I did videos last year or the year before, it's all much the same. So really, if you've got an older machine, and I know Microsoft is backing down a bit because everyone's just sticking with Windows 10, so we're going to have to do something, but they're not going to get good support. So I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to keep Windows 10, or they're going to allow you to upgrade Windows 11 if they make it so you can use your old hardware, but it's not really 100% supported on Windows 11. Are people going to move to Windows 11? People have a dislike to Windows 11. I don't notice it. I don't care. If you've used Linux and OS2 and other operating systems a long time, all the Windows look much the same to me. I don't know if that's for everybody. Whether it's Windows 10 or Windows 11, it doesn't make much difference. I'll run Windows 11 on my game machine and I don't really notice the difference. But anyway, that's me. So I don't know if people are going to shift to Windows 11, even if they make it so old hardware can go. They might not. They don't like it. So they're going to stay with Windows 10, and Windows 10 is going to be non-supported. I don't know. My solution is, it's an older machine. My old 4th gen stuff, I've got one downstairs with a 7700. It's going to go to Linux soon as my daughter gets another computer. We'll put that one on Linux because I can have a fully updated system. I don't have to worry about a badly supported Windows 11, or we don't know what's happening with Windows 10. Are they going to get rid of it? Don't know. If people keep using it, my solution is just put Linux on.